So we are live on YouTube, and I'm just going to, as usual, I'm going to be editing out the beginning of the thing because I
Okay.
have to mute. So we are live on YouTube. See, and that's us. There you hear us. Okay. Hey everybody, John Henry Soto here. Welcome to JHS Interviews. And today I am so happy to have Damaris Suarez here with me. She is a good friend. We actually graduated from Rising Tide Capital. Yay. And that's where we met. I sat next to her just randomly and I felt the energy. She seemed like a really positive person. And right afterwards, we kept in contact and through social media, and she's doing some great work. There's a lot of healthy, we're going to talk about juicing, we're going to talk about strengthening your immune system, yoga, spirituality. My lord, we are going to cover a lot of different stuff today. So Damaris, thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure and pleasure.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Thank you. Thank you so
It's
much
my
for having
pleasure.
me.
Absolutely. So let me ask you, where were you born?
I was born in Newark, New Jersey, here in the in
Okay.
the Jersey area, um, many years ago.
Not that many, I'm sure. Cool. So did you go to school in Newark, or were you?
I did not. I was back and forth when I was younger from Newark to Dover, and then eventually my parents divorced, and I moved to New York with my dad. And
Oh,
we
okay.
moved back to New Jersey. So I've been back and forth between New York and New Jersey, and I have
Oh,
settled in
okay.
New Jersey for the last 19 years.
Wow. What part of New York?
Brooklyn, many parts.
Brooklyn. Oh, nice.
Brooklyn,
Cool.
yes.
Awesome. Awesome. Cool. Great. So I know we went to Rising Tide Capital, and I know one of the reasons we both did that was because we're both entrepreneurs, and we both have we have other businesses as well that we do and other responsibilities, but we also want to do something else and have our own businesses and have our own just be more self-reliant and help others. Basically, that was one of the
Right,
reasons I remember we wanted to go to Rising Tide Capital. I think a lot of people that go to Rising Tide Capital actually fall into that same category.
right.
um did you find going to Rising Tide Capital, did it help you kind of organize a little bit of the business part of it?
Yes, because I'm not a very business savvy person. I'm more about just helping people. So yeah, it did help me get a basic understanding of how business works.
Mhm.
So it was very informative.
Good. Yeah, for me too, actually. Yeah, I really enjoyed it over there. And Alpha, and what's her husband's name? Alex. And
Alex.
I can't remember my instructor. Winston, I think, was my instructor. I don't know if he was
I
your
don't
instructor. I don't
remember.
think so.
No, Winston.
Uh,
No, I don't remember his name.
yeah, yeah.
Well, a few years
um
ago.
yeah. He was great. And so yeah, I did learn a lot, and it was a good experience being over there. So let's talk a little bit about your journey, and what got you into health and fitness, and what was something that what was your why for suddenly for wanting to be in fitness, or in health, I should say, not
Yeah. So, and like holistic healing, holistic health.
holistic
So,
health.
yeah. So basically, man, I had a very interesting childhood. Very catabolic, and parents weren't there. Um, I was moving from place to place. I was never really stable. Um, Basically, like when when I got older into my teenage years, I didn't finish high school, but I did end up getting my GED and stuff. Because I was abused as a child. I didn't have my mom, and as a teenager, I was like all over the place. And then I had a baby at 20, And that's when I moved to New York. That wasn't the best situation, things happened there. So, kind of like the abuse followed me throughout the years, and basically you attract what you have been through, so to say, until you break that pattern. So then I had two other kids after, and at some point when I divorced my ex-husband, um, I came back to New Jersey because I was living in New York at the time. I came back to New Jersey, and I couldn't take care of my kids, and because I came to live with my sister. So after that, I told my kid's dad to stay with them for a while. He ended up disappearing with them, so I didn't see them for like 8 years. In the meantime, in the between time, that was really hard on me mentally. So I had to find, and I remember one day I was living in Teaneck, and I like fell to the floor and I cried, and I was like, God, please, I'm tired of being sick and tired, So, the universe hears you. So I met some people, and one of my really good friends, he gave me a book, which was The Alchemist. I never read in my life besides school. So
great
I ended up
book.
reading the book. It was a very great book,
Yeah.
and I still have it to this day. Read the book, kind of, changed some of my mindset, not 100%. And then I met an ex-boyfriend that I was with for 5 years, and he was very good to me. And basically, he was in the music industry. I traveled for the first time in my life because I never traveled anywhere. The first state I visited was LA. I ended up going to the VH1 Awards. So I kind of got a different perspective on life. And then he was also, he carried a lot of books, a lot of information. And I started like looking in his bookshelf while he was reading. Eventually he saw The Secret, and so did I. And that kind of trickled, I was going to college at the time. It kind of trickled down to, okay, this is what you need to kind of make yourself better. And I was tired of just living how I was programmed. And I didn't know at the time that I was programmed, but I was. So I started making life changes, and I started reading. I started going to seminars. I started taking classes. I remember going to one seminar with Dr. Wayne Dyer in New York at the Jacob Javits Center. And there was a life coach there. And I love what she was saying. And I was like, oh my God, what is a life coach? So I ended up Googling it, and I found, one of the schools in which I graduated, and that within itself helped me. I took it to help myself, but I also knew it was to help others. So, and that was something that I like to do. I remember when I was younger, I used to help a lot of people, and this girl that I know when I was like in my 20s, I saw her, and she was like, I remember when you helped me. I was going through something, and I will never forget that you helped me. And I didn't know that I helped her. I was just being me, So when she told me that, I was like, wow, okay. So I do help people without even knowing, that's just, my personality. Yeah. So I delved into that. And then eventually my kids came back, probably 2011. And I remember the day because there was like a small earthquake in Jersey, and I was sitting on my computer chair, and my chair shook a little bit, and I was like, oh my God, what's that? And before I ended up finding out that it was an earthquake. And then before that, I got in my chair, I was in the shower, and I thought I had these visions of my kids in my head. And then after the earthquake happened, the little one, my kid's dad ends up calling me, and I'm like, wow, how ironic is that?
Yeah.
So anyway, got my kids back. My daughter ended up being diabetic. So, I already tried to eat healthy, but because she was diabetic, I had to like turn the whole system around in my house. So we had to take classes, nutritional classes together, because she was 11 at the time, I believe. And so that taught me a lot on how to eat better. And then, when I was younger, I always used to say, like, I used to go down the shopping aisles and be like, who makes these foods? I know they don't grow, in the earth. So, like, before, like back in the days, what did we used to eat, when our ancestors lived? So I always questioned, like, I never believed in pharmaceuticals, um, even though I did take them. But eventually I went on this path where it was like a healing path, one for my daughter, another
Mm.
for myself, and kind of it all just came together, and that's where mind, body, soul synergy came from, because how you think, your thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and behaviors are a big part of your thinking. So how you think affects how you feel in turn creates your beliefs, um, about yourself and life, and how and your beliefs makes your personality. So I had to kind of reprogram myself, try to teach my kids, because they came from an unstable home, when they were with their dad. So I had to kind of reprogram, them too. So it was like a self healing journey for myself. And in turn, I was like helping others at the same time. So it all came together.
Mm. Wow. What a journey.
That's
That
a
is
long story
unbelievable.
short.
No, that was beautiful. I love that. Hold on, I'm gonna fix my chair for a second. Wow, that's an amazing story. Um, so during during this incredible journey, did you find yourself at some point um feeling that it was helpless, or did you always have an idea that you were gonna be okay? Like, like things are gonna
um,
be fine.
no, I always felt like they were going to be fine. One, I always knew that my kids would come back. I never doubted that for a minute, though
Hmm.
it took longer than I expected.
Right.
When I was living in Brooklyn, when I was like 17, I used to live right next to Marcy Projects, and I had a friend who lived across. So I had to every day walk from her house and cross Marcy Projects to get to my house. I even got robbed. We got robbed broad daylight. But I remember one day walking by myself, and I was like, God, I know there's more to life than what I'm going through right now, because it was just not, I
Yeah.
was on my own.
Hmm.
Um, but I always had that. I always walked with God. I always had a spiritual side to me. I always knew that, I was guided. I always knew that, like, I could always hear, if I didn't, I was always like a loner.
Hmm.
So I was always talking to God, to the universe, and that's what always got me through. I always
Mm.
had like kind of a faith to it. Even though you
Right.
have your moments that you doubt it, but there's always that voice telling you, you got this. You're gonna be okay.
Right. Yeah, and I do think that there's that higher awareness level that people that go through tremendous struggles that they have, that they're
Right.
not walking with the idea that this is it, this is hopeless, because
Mm.
you know, this you may say, "Oh man, this really sucks right now," but I do see that there's a light at the end of a tunnel, and I got to find that tunnel first. But
Right.
I don't, I'm not giving up. So that's amazing. We both, I guess, I mean, I grew up in the South Bronx, so I have a little bit of reality on the,
Mm.
walking through projects and being scared. Basically, I had numerous things happen to me, growing up as well. So
Right.
that whole thing also conditions you in a way that's a little bit different than the average Joe, because I don't think it ever goes away, even though I live in Bayonne now, which is kind of like pretty residential, I should say suburban kind of like look in
Mm.
a sense. I
Right.
mean, as much suburban that I've ever been in, you know what I mean? For me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I still kind of have the same views where I still have to, if I'm looking at somebody, I might look over my shoulder, or if I'm in a grocery store and somebody walks in, I don't know, it's just a thing just when you grew up with that. So I
Right.
think that that actually does prepare you for like a
Mm,
lot of these things that we go through, because it's like, you've seen the worst of worst. I mean, I've seen the worst a human can do, which is kill another human, right?
right.
And when you've seen that, it kind of, your perspective on life becomes very different, and you also tend to appreciate life a lot more, and you also want to kind of keep going.
Right.
You like life. Life is good.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that right now it was just that it was hard.
Yeah.
How did you start with nutritional stuff? Like, did you start with juicing? Like, when did that come about, where you got into the
The
what you called
healthy,
it earlier? I'm sorry. Yeah,
holistic, holistic
holistic
health.
stuff. Yeah, yeah.
So, I did the coaching, and that's basically, how to change behaviors, how to just think differently. And me practicing that, I saw that it worked. I would say mantras like "all is well in my world," um, "I'm deserving," stuff like that, and I would just, practice what I was learning. So then, how the nutritional sides came to it was basically because of my daughter, with her illness and diabetes, and she was so young. Then I started doing
Yeah.
plant medicines like ayahuasca and San Pedro and peyote, which that helped me. It was like a light bulb went off in my head. Like, it was ayahuasca was like 30 years of therapy in one session. And,
Wow.
I did it a couple times, and I really needed it because of the trauma that I experienced throughout my life. And that helped me a lot. And then eventually, I don't know, one day I was going to a friend of mine said, "Oh, let's take this class." And I was like, I always do like a lot of research, right? So
Mhm.
if I'm going through something, or if I feel sick, or I always try to look for something natural instead of like a pharmaceutical.
Yeah.
So I started even for my daughter, um I started doing a lot of research on that, and then I took this one little class that was like half an hour with my friend. It was, and probably like a few weeks before that, I was looking up burdock root, and because I was having issues with my digestion and stuff like that. So I looked up burdock root and whatever. So then the class that the lady was holding was about burdock root, and I was like, all right. And she had the book, the herb book, and so I got into that. Um, Probably like last year, but I was practicing it on the side. I just didn't go in depth with it, but I was always making like smoothies and juices. I didn't go hard on juices until like 2 years ago, because I didn't have a juicer. So I would just
Right.
do smoothies. That was the closest to healthy that I can get as far as juices. So um, then I found an herb class. I asked a friend of mine, and he's an acupuncturist, so he told me there was a school in the city. Um, so I looked it up, and I took the classes, and that within itself was like so eye opening, because and I never, I always do the practice on myself first before I go and advise someone what to take, because I want to make
Sure,
sure it
sure.
works. So I did that, and that was like what that connected me to the earth, to life, to like my roots, what my ancestors did, and
Wow.
um that was that is one of the best things I've done so far, and
Hmm.
I'm very grateful for that.
That's awesome. So, you mentioned your daughter with diabetes. That's such a huge thing. I mean, you talk about, not to make light of our current situation, but you talk
Right.
about a pandemic. It's like how many millions of people die every year from diabetes, anything, complications with
Yeah.
diabetes and all. My whole family had diabetes. I mean,
Wow.
my grandparents had diabetes. My mom passed away in 2009, complications of diabetes. my aunts, my uncles, everybody had diabetes. My
Wow.
goldfish, my cat. No, I'm just kidding. But we had everybody, anything that was around us had diabetes. And then about 9 years ago, right before I moved here, um, I was diagnosed with pre-diabetic. I was
Oh,
went to
wow.
the doctor, yeah, and he said I was pre-diabetic. So I remember asking him, I was like, well, because my diet was never terrible, but I would have my sweets here and there. It wasn't like
Right.
crazy, but so I said, well,
Catches up
maybe
to
I can
you.
change my diet. Yeah, and I remember asking the doctor, well, can I change my diet and maybe that'll help? And he was like, I don't think it's gonna. He was an Indian, very very nice man. His name was Ramses Fakari. I chose him as my doctor only because of his name. Just so you
Mm.
know, that's how much I I researched on the doctor. I saw Ramses Fakari and I was like, that's my doctor. So he said, I don't know if it's going to help you, but you can try. I don't know. So he didn't really have a lot of information on diet, and I thought, isn't that interesting? Here's a doctor who can't even tell me about. He was definitely ready to give me the pills, and I said,
Mm.
no, I'm not going to take those right now. I'm going to try to change my diet, and I did. I changed my diet, and I went back about a year and a half later, and no signs of diabetes whatsoever. It was like not even there,
Awesome.
and I haven't had any episodes. Last year, I did a sugar detox for like 3 months
Nice.
just on my own because I started feeling a little bit. I was, just a little bit sloppy, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
and that really did an amazing job for me. So diabetes and is a really big issue for me and for my family and stuff. You mentioned some of the juices. Is your daughter also does also? I mean, she's obviously older now, right? So,
Yes, she's 20.
how and how is she?
She has type 1 diabetes, so
Mhm.
that's different from type 2. So it's not
Mhm.
something that you can get rid of. I mean, you can
Mhm.
get rid of, but it's a lot of work.
Okay.
You can go to the Amazon jungle and, do all kinds of stuff, and the diet is very important, but she, I believe I taught her well.
Yeah. Yeah.
She works out, and she posts Instagram videos, and she inspires me.
Good.
um she eats healthy, she tries her best to eat healthy, and
Mhm.
I do give her herbs because she does like suffer from a little anxiety, so I give her herbs for that. And
Mhm.
whatever I do, I always try to share with her, and because I think it's important for her as a diabetic to take care of herself, because she had it so since such a young age,
Right. Right. Right.
and the longer you have it, and if you don't take care of yourself, the earlier you will present symptoms that you don't really want,
Right. Right.
as far as like, losing your eyesight or having to lose a foot or whatever. And I never really
Mhm.
wanted that for her. So I tried to teach her as best as I could, even about, her mind and how she thinks and stuff like that. So she has
Yeah.
really adapted well to that. And I'm just very
Mhm.
proud of her for that. And it makes me proud because I'm like, okay, I'm doing something good, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, yeah. I'm sure you are. Let's go into a little bit mind body soul. So you just mentioned a little bit about mine and your daughter with a little bit of
Hmm.
anxiety. It's definitely another symptom of our culture,
Correct.
anxiety, which is running rampant, especially now. Unfortunately,
Hmm.
there's a
And
lot of people,
stress.
stress is just like tremendous. I do know that the the vitamin B3, I'm
Hmm.
sorry, B1 is very good for stress and for it's almost like a natural what somebody called it once, like a natural Prozac or something. Not that Prozac does any not that Prozac does anything good,
It's
but
horrible.
it is horrible. But um the vitamin B1s are really really great, and there's a lot of stuff. I mean, obviously I'm not a professional and none of us are doctors here, so we're not
Hmm.
recommending stuff to anybody. Just a disclaimer
Right.
so nobody gets into it.
Correct.
But I know for me personally, there's a thing called CalMag. It's calcium, magnesium, and and those two things like really relax the body. So like if ever,
Hmm.
I'm really not great about it because I don't. I'm not really a stress guy. Like I've been through so much
Mm.
that right now it's I don't know. I'm just like I don't really care. But I guess it's part of it is not that stressful. Like I do have stresses, but it doesn't come from that. It comes from other things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and what do you recommend now? We're talking about mind now. So
Hmm.
what do you recommend? Like, is there like, do you have any a smoothie or some type of a juice or some kind of type of an herb or something that can help somebody and maybe where they can go research it?
I think doing yoga relieves stress and
Oh
anxiety.
yeah.
Meditation does relieve
Mhm.
stress and anxiety. Focusing on your breath work, deep inhales. I know sometimes, I get in my thoughts and that creates anxiety.
Mhm.
And I just take deep breaths and I
Mhm.
actually feel my heart rate lowering.
Yeah.
That usually works for me. Also, like valerian is a herb that you can take for that. It kind of lavender relaxes you.
Hmm.
Um, things like that. What else can I don't think any juices
Right. I was
help
just
with that, but herbs do, because they have
yeah.
minerals and nutrients in them, vitamins and minerals. So those are the types of things that I usually do for anxiety and stress.
So it really is the
Going outside,
yeah,
the
I was gonna
sun,
say that there's a couple of
grounding.
mhm. There's a couple of things, right? There's a couple of there's one responsibility for it. Take responsibility for what you're feeling because you're feeling
Right.
it. So that's
Hmm.
one. And two, know that you can do something about it, that
Right.
there are things that you can do. And then you got to take another responsibility to go do it, to go do
Right.
it or get some help or call somebody like Damaris and have a consultation with her and have her help you. So there
Absolutely.
are yeah, there are a lot of things that you can do um for those kind of things. Do you
It all
when
starts
you
it all starts with your mind, your thoughts. So
yeah,
it's all about what you're thinking. So you can be in your monkey mind thinking all kinds of things. And
right,
if you're just aware of what you're thinking, you can catch yourself and, okay, what am I going to do about this? Okay, so now I can take deep breaths right now in the moment.
right,
It can be cold outside in Jersey, so we're not able to go and walk on the grass with our shoes off,
right,
because that's the
right.
grounding that may help, and the sun helps, and doing yoga and meditation. And so those are the things that usually I do.
Yeah. It's like things that are on earth, things that were
Correct.
already before the factories got here, things that were already
Yes.
here.
Hmm.
That's like
Pretty much.
that's really what you have to think of. There was somebody who told me that they do the I mean it was one of these hippie guys, but he said he does the God diet.
The
And he
God
says like
diet.
if God created it, it wasn't man-made, it's good.
Absolutely.
So
Yes,
I was like,
I
"Oh,
agree.
okay." I was like, and
That's
he
a
was like,
good term
"Yeah,
for it.
man." Yeah, he had a whole other vibe to him too. But I really like that viewpoint, where it's
Hmm.
like if it was here before the factories, it's chances are legit. So let's talk about
Absolutely.
body a little bit. Like I said, I did a cleanse last year for 3 months. I did a 90-day sugar detox thing, and it created havoc with my body for the first 3 weeks and
Because
my
you're not used
mind.
to it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really I probably shouldn't have I did it, but it was not easy. N- do you have, anything that somebody can have like can take like a juice or something like for the body to I mean, what kind of juices would you recommend? Do you have any juices in particular
For
that you were
what?
like for being able to dance better? No, I don't know. Um, like somebody
Well,
who
I do
just has
I
two
do
left feet.
I do like a detox juice, which
Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I was just talking about detox. So yeah, a
yeah.
detox
So
juice.
detoxing is good because your body holds all these toxins, and toxins create havoc. So
Mhm.
you can get sick because you have all these toxins in your body. You can
Like the metal
your
metals.
the heavy metals, that's
heavy
in our
metal.
processed foods, in the air from the chemtrails. So you want to like detox your body
I'm not gonna go into
um
chemtrails.
often. Yeah.
Right.
It's a whole different interview.
Yeah, it's a whole other show. I
But
have, yeah.
the heavy metal detox consists of like cilantro, orange juice, banana, barley grass, and spirulina. Um,
Oh, okay.
and I've done it, and it really does work, and it's good to detox because you want to get rid of these toxins in order because if you're going to eat healthy, then you have to detox because we inhale stuff our bodies have from the shampoos, from the
Hmm.
soaps, from the lotions. I always say you never want to put a lotion on that you can't eat. So I usually put coconut oil on as a
Yeah, yeah.
lotion. But as far as juices, I have like I do for what's going on right now,
Hmm.
for these circumstances, for the COVID, sort of say. I have done orange, pineapple, carrot, and ginger. Ginger like works wonders. I love ginger. That's one thing that
Yeah.
I almost put on every juice. Turmeric is for inflammation. If inflammation is the cause of every dis-ease in your body. So
Hmm.
you want to tackle the inflammation. So turmeric is very good for that. So I usually put turmeric in my juices too. I do orange juice and ginger shots. You could just put it in a little shot glass and make pretend
Oh, really?
you're
At a
taking
bar.
liquor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which you can't go to now. So
So,
take an
right.
orange ginger shot.
So can you when we're done, can you actually email me some of those like those two, and I'll put them in the description so people can have them. Because I think
Absolutely.
that'd be really good. Especially I want to try one of those, some of those,
I
because
also have them posted on my page on Instagram on my
oh, okay, okay.
highlights. I have a whole bunch of juices that
Okay,
have
I'm gonna
made.
put that down there too. Yeah, I'll put all
Yeah.
your information and everything down there as well. That's
Okay.
awesome.
Awesome.
One of the
Hmm.
things that I don't do enough of is I don't juice. Like I'm
No.
a no, I don't juice. I don't. And last year I was talking to my wife about buying a juicer. And I was
Mm.
looking at juicers, and they, one of those ads that came up on my. Of course, now that I'm saying it next to my phone, I'm gonna have ads for juicers in a few minutes.
That's
So
true.
hopefully, yeah. So hopefully it'll be a good one. And you know what? That doesn't bother me. It saves me the trouble of having to research the juice.
Correct.
So I'll go and I'll check out the juicers, and I'll see if but I do want to try one, and I have told, Pamela, I think it'll be good for our kids. My son had, I'll just tell a quick story about my son
Hmm.
and his health. But he had when he was about a little over one, he was diagnosed incorrectly with a rheumatoid arthritis,
Oh wow.
juvenile ruminal
Rheumatoid.
arthritis, right?
Rheumatoid. Rheumatoid.
Whatever. What did I say?
I don't know.
I don't know what the hell I
I know you
said,
said it
but
wrong, but it was
I,
rheumatoid.
it, what is it called?
Rheumatoid.
Oh, rheumatoid. So he had that, and oh, that's what they said he had. And we were just
That's
like thinking
caused by
about,
inflammation, by the way.
right, right,
Yes.
and so his knees had swelled up where the poor boy couldn't walk. He couldn't
Oh
stand.
my.
He would start crying like when you put him down, and it
Wow.
was it was as a parent, it's just heartbreaking when you see your kid crying.
Absolutely.
You can't help, and it was, for me, we were just, I mean, we were literally crying. We had no idea what to do, and
Mm.
so we took him to the hospital, and that's what they said. And one doctor, and I'm not making this up, this is God's truth. She came in and she said to us, she said, in my heart of hearts, I really do believe that it's arthritis. It was called
Mm.
juvenile arthritis. That's what she called it.
Right.
Um, and she said, in my heart of hearts, that's what I believe. And
Hmm.
we were like, in your heart of hearts? I was like, but does that mean, does he have it? Is there a test?
Mm.
So she said, there's really no test for it. Just like there's inflammation, and they know that that's what it is.
Right.
So we were not going to accept that, obviously. And then they gave him this horrible medicine, this iron thing, and this drink. This He had to take this iron liquid, and it messed up his teeth. So to this day, he has his front teeth
Decays.
like, yeah,
Yeah,
because
decayed their teeth. Yeah.
yeah. So we stopped giving him that, and then the medicine would just make him really hot and almost feverish, and he would
Mm.
just be walking around. I mean, it was just a horrible time for us. We were suffering so much during that.
And how old was
And
he?
it was like a year and a half,
Oh
maybe.
my goodness.
He
Wow.
just starting to walk. You know what I mean? And he was just starting to, and it was heartbreaking. So luckily, we have some friends in Florida, and they recommended someone that was here in Patterson,
Mm.
and we were reaching out to a lot of our friends that are, into this, nutritional
Mm-hmm.
lifestyle, and they recommended this doctor up in Patterson, and he basically saved our child. Like, he came in, we took him over there, we went up there, and he looked at, he said no, he did all these other tests, he did all these other blood tests that apparently the hospital
Mm.
never does. They don't do these. They don't just do that. He
Interesting.
did like six other ones, and we got them all back, and it showed he does not have arthritis. He has inflammation. He had like some
Mm-hmm.
gastral stuff going on, and so he recommended all these herbs and these creams that we put on his leg, and a few other things that I can't remember. And we did that for 8 months, just constant, being very consistent. And he's fine. He's running around now. He has no symptoms
Awesome.
of it
I see.
whatsoever. Yeah, he's been
Wow.
and no symptoms whatsoever. And we are like, we are so convinced now that what they were doing was, and well, I'm not even going to go into that story because that's just too long. But there was other things happened after we didn't take him to the doctor, where
Mm.
that they were upset that we didn't take him to the doctor. So a whole other drama happened after that. But
Mm-hmm.
we stood our ground, and our doctor really helped us a lot. Dr. Spages is his name, Dr. Jonathan Spages, and
Mm-hmm.
he basically just saved our son. So
Wow.
anyway, I wanted to mention that story only because of the fact that I know that people sometimes rely heavily on doctors, and sometimes doctors are needed for certain things because
Absolutely.
they are an essential thing, and especially what's happening right now with COVID-19, and
Mm-hmm.
the nurses and everybody. We're definitely in great, in gratitude to them. At the same time, the drugs have to be looked at again, not the doctors. The doctors are trained to prescribe drugs, but the doctors
Right.
I think, are really good people. I think the doctors have great intentions. I just think what's being prescribed needs to be looked at. And
Well,
talking to you,
the doctors only know what they're taught, you know?
that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So I don't think that they got into the medical profession not to do a good job. They got in because they
Right.
want to do a good job. They want to help people.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously these are good people. Um, so anyway, just talking to you has really kind of made me passionate again about wanting to look more into this juicing and stuff. And your story is really incredible. Now we
Thank
talked
you.
about mind. Yeah, I mean, you have a great story. You have a tremendous success story. You know what I mean? Like, you
Yes.
can't deny the fact of where you came from, what the story that you just told me, and where you are right now sitting and what you're doing. That whole thing is an amazing arc and an amazing accomplishment. So you are
Thank you.
definitely doing some great things, and I can't wait to see what else great things you're gonna do. So it's gonna be awesome. Then we talked about mind, body. Let's talk about soul, and like James Brown. Um, do you do you now spirituality? We don't have to go into religion, obviously. I mean, we
No,
can. I don't care, but um,
my
spirituality.
religion is love. Let's put it
Yeah,
that way, you know?
yeah, like exactly. So, and I mean, what else? I mean, if your religion doesn't contain love, then chances are you're probably in the wrong religion.
Right.
Um, yeah. So, what do you do spiritually? Do you do meditation? Do you consider
um,
that like spirituality?
so for my soul health overall, I put my mind and body practices together because your mind affects your body. So your thoughts affect, your organs. Your gut is actually your second brain.
Mm-hmm.
So, that is important to keep healthy. And I didn't have that healthy for a while because I had my gallbladder taken out, which I shouldn't have, but I was young. I was 22 and I didn't know. And the doctor was like, we got to take it out. I'm like, okay, now I know better, but
Yeah.
it's already too late. But,
Right. He threw it
at
out.
some point,
I'm
yeah,
just kidding.
in the garbage
Yeah.
or donate it to somebody. I don't know.
Jesus Christ. Can't believe it. He didn't even
But,
give it to you.
no. So like that's my soul health, putting my mind and body practices together. You know, working out is something that I've always loved to do. I
Mm.
don't always do it consistently, but I do it because I know even when I'm stressed, or if I'm stressed, I go to the gym and I
Mhm.
feel better. I have so much energy, the depression goes
Yeah.
away, the anxiety goes away.
Isn't that
Um,
amazing, huh?
it is, it
It
is.
happens to me too. I work out and I just feel like also my
Yeah.
breath, like I can take a deeper breath. Like for me, I'm very, very
Yes.
conscious and aware of my body. So like if I'm breathing like this, it's okay, but then I work out and then suddenly I take this huge deep breath and
Yeah.
it like fills my body. It's like so interesting.
But that's the amazing thing about breath is that everything comes down back to your breath. Breath is life. So, if you just focus on your breath, no matter, we as adults, babies, have these how baby when a baby's born and they breathe from the stomach.
Mm,
As adults, we start to breathe from the chest. We always have to go back to our belly because you get all the strength from there. So when
mm,
you go into your breath, you know everything just relaxes. Even when you're doing yoga, and some people can touch the floor and some people can't. Well,
mm,
if you are patient enough and you relax and you actually, let's say you go up and then you go down and you're trying to touch your toes and you can't. Well, if you
mm,
just sit there and you just breathe, take a deep inhale and relax, your body naturally falls. So
mm,
if you do that like 5 times, you're gonna be able eventually, or 10 times, you're gonna be able to touch the floor at some point.
mm.
Not many people know that. They'll be like, "Oh, I can't do this. I can't touch the floor." But
I didn't know that.
yeah, so
Mm,
it's a big practice, and I practice it when I do yoga, and like sometimes I feel my tension and I can't touch the floor, and I have to relax. Okay, so now I have to keep breathing, deep inhales and exhales, and your body naturally falls. When you're stressed out and you take a deep breath, you relax, and you take a couple of those, your body will naturally relax. But we're
wow.
so in our heads that we
Yeah, yeah.
don't take the time to breathe. And breath is, even mindful breathing. You can be walking and just focus on your breath.
Yeah,
Meditation, focus on your
yeah.
breath. You'll get out your mind. If you're meditating and you
Mhm.
focus on your breath, you won't have as many thoughts.
Yeah.
Focus on your belly because your belly goes up and down. So as far as soul, like I go out. I have a window by my in my upstairs bathroom, and I can usually see sunsets, and I just sun gaze, and that's
Mhm.
really helpful. I do lots of prayers, and not a prayer in terms of, oh God, I need this. My prayer is more like, thank you God for my health, thank you for taking care of my family, as if it's already done.
Mhm.
Thank you for my car, thank you for my house. I never ask for anything, but I kind of say it. Okay, thank you for already giving me that.
Yeah, gratitude,
um
prayer.
Gratitude.
Yeah.
I have an attitude of gratitude. Gratitude is like one of the most important things because it could shift your
Mhm.
mind real quick too.
Completely, completely.
You could be in a bad mood, and you know what, I'm grateful for my house, I'm grateful that I have a roof over my
Mhm.
head, I have an essential job that I'm thankful that I can work from home because of my asthma. And
Yeah.
that's another thing I had to do. I take herbs for asthma, which incredible, they work. So I hug a tree every once in a while when I find one, and the trees have energy. I had to do a lot of quiet time at home. And I'm starting to have more compassion for myself,
Mm.
and not be so hard
Interesting.
on myself, and
Yeah.
kind of like do the self love, and I never really did that for myself. So
Mhm.
in these times I've had to find that. Like,
Yeah.
because I was so busy in life, I had two jobs, going from one job to another. Um, I never had time for myself. I thought I did, but I really didn't. So when this happened and I was home, mostly by myself, I had to be with myself. I had to feel myself. And I'm like, oh my God, all these things started coming up. And I'm like,
Mm,
oh my God, what am I gonna do? And I started crying. I let everything
mm,
out. And that helps too, because whether you knew it or not, your tears, when you cry, let out toxins.
hmm.
But people are so hard to cry, but crying is actually good, and actually you feel better afterwards.
Yeah.
um
Yeah. I cry every
and
day.
you do.
Yeah, every night and every morning. No,
Is life that hard?
no, I just like it.
You
I put
do.
on some Garth. Yeah, I put on some Garth Brooks, and I'm gone. Don't listen to me. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Um, so you're right, because I think we're kind of conditioned to like try to be tough, and you
Yeah.
got to make it go right, and you got to be tough. You can do this, and which is yes, you can do this, and that is the way it should be. But you also shouldn't suppress an emotion.
Yes,
And for me, that's
absolutely.
kind of like the biggest thing is like one of the things I've learned in the last few years through my religion and through my studies is don't suppress emotions,
Yes.
whether they're going to upset somebody or not. It's not really when you suppress them, you feel you're sitting in them, you know what I mean? So you're still
Hmm.
sitting there with that thing,
They don't go
and
away.
doesn't go away. So it's like, so for
Mm-mm.
me, it's like I just get it out, let the pieces fall where they may, whatever it is,
Hmm.
and I feel so much better afterwards because that was my true intention, was to get that communication out. So I think that that's a really important thing to consider. Do you when you meditate, or when you actually when I went out the other day, and you talk about breath and stuff, I went out to the park because I was having one of those days, and and the park was, it was not a lot of people. Some people with masks, most people were not
Hmm.
without masks, but it smelled so good, like the air was just so nice. It was really
Crisp and
interesting to me.
fresh.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's because obviously though the factories have been shut down for a while now, and there's
Probably.
no stuff in the air, which I know that that has caused a huge effect on the planet. And so that's a good thing. So it might be that, or it might be just the fact that I really just needed to be around nature and smell the grass and the trees and the plants and stuff. Do you go out a lot, like now? Have you been going out,
I
for walks
do.
and stuff?
I was a little depressed when they closed the parks, because I have a favorite park by me and it's
Uh,
huge. I love biking. So, before this happened and it was still open, it was still a little cold out, but I would go on walks, or I'd go and sit in my car at the park if it was too cold out. But recently they opened the state parks, which was like what, last week or 2 weeks ago?
yeah, I think about a week ago. Yeah.
Yeah, so I went to Liberty State Park the first day because it's
Hmm.
very open, and there was a there's a big, it was by the water. I wanted to be by the water, because water is always soothing for me.
It is. Yeah.
Um so then I went, after that park, I went to the park, my local park. So I do walk around the park. I also, before the parks were open, I took my bike out around town, and that helped me a lot. Just being out in nature is something that, I'm an earth sign, so I love
Yeah.
nature. I like hiking, I like going to the woods, I like going to the forest and all that stuff, and
Yeah.
I like the flowers and stuff like that. So very
Yeah.
nurturing for me.
I'm really looking forward to like people kind of enjoying, even myself. I mean, not just people, but everybody just kind of enjoying life a little bit more in a different way. Our
Yeah.
perspectives have really shifted in my viewpoint. I was just talking to somebody earlier who was living near here, and then they moved. And during the time that they were here, we never got to meet. We met through social media and doing
Hmm.
some work online, and we were always going to plan to have coffee, playing coffee. We're going to have coffee. We're going to have coffee. And then she had to move with her family somewhere, and she moved away. So now we're talking. And we're like, how that hurts now because now I didn't get to meet this wonderful person and her family and stuff, and
Right.
now she's gone. And I mean, I'm sure at some point we'll meet again. But my point is like just taking those things for granted. Those
Yeah.
little meetings. I'm really looking forward to like just sitting down and having coffee with friends again and being able to
Yeah.
see people smile and make them laugh person, face to face.
Absolutely.
So I'm really excited about that. Let me see, go to my
It's
notes.
tough not being around people, you know? We all
Yeah,
need that human connection, you
I
know? Like
know.
my sister came the other day to drop something off, and I haven't seen her in a couple months. And it
Wow.
was like, oh my God, I got to hug her because I mean, she's my sister. She had a
Hmm.
mask and gloves or whatever. But um it I miss my kids, my grandson, and my friends. And I even miss going to work sometimes because I'm like in my house all the time, besides
Yeah,
going out
yeah.
for walks or to the park. But we
Right.
need human connection, you know? We
Absolutely.
need,
Yeah.
even though virtual is cool, but touch is everything, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And
Um,
people's energies are everything.
mhm. So we covered mind, body, soul. It's a wonderful thing. I love your brand. I love what you're
Thank
working
you.
on. It's mind, body, soul synergy, right?
Yes. And
And
synergy means the what does synergy mean? The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. So basically, if you
right,
take your mind and your body and soul and put it all together, you're going to function at an optimal level, you know?
right. And that synergy.
Right.
I love it. I love it. So I know that you have a Facebook page, you have an Instagram. I know that you have a website in the works. I know that you're also planning on writing. You were talking about blogging at some point, which I know that
Yes.
that's a huge, huge, huge thing. People love to read blogs. Blogs are very popular. And so, what are you currently working on now, like to kind of further? We're all in this area now where we're trying to figure out like how we're going to come out of this, like what
Mm,
on the other side, how we're going to be on the other side of this. And there's obviously two people, right? There's the ones that are going to just
right.
give into this and be like, oh, come out and be like, oh, thank God I can go get my Starbucks. Um, and then there are going to be people that are going to take this time to get better, stronger, learn something, get educated in something, start a new thing, whatever. And there's some people that just want to just kind of just reset and just kind of
Mm.
just feel better about their body and about their life and stuff. How are you preparing for the parole? I keep saying
The
that.
outing, the
Yeah.
the freedom,
Yeah, the release when we're all on the
the
release
release.
program.
Well, I want to help people at a grander level, like a bigger scale, you know.
Mhm.
I do work in the mental health field. I do manage a group home with autistic boys, and manage staff there. I love what I do, but I also help my staff. They're always asking me for advice.
Mhm.
And I also work with the youth. I am a behavioral assistant for troubled youth, and that is very rewarding within itself because I get
Yeah.
to tell them, I get to kind of like teach them what I know. And some of them are receptive and some of them are not. But regardless, as long as I plant the seed, that's all that matters, because
Yep.
eventually at some point they're gonna be like, oh, Damaris told me this, when they're older or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, but I'm coaching people. I am finishing my herbal studies. I'm also doing shamanic energy healing classes at the moment, which is I'm not going to be done till next year. So that's where like I want to put everything together and offer that to people who are
Mhm.
in need of my services.
That's awesome. So you got some big plans. That's
I
fantastic.
do. I
That's
do.
great. So what do you have any final pieces of advice for people during COVID-19 and something to obviously, I mean, we covered so much because of the mind, body, and soul. I mean, if you address each of those three things on a daily basis, I think that that you're doing pretty good. But just one final piece of advice for all the people out there that are either want to at some point hire
Mm.
you or just talk to you or just follow your content moving forward.
Um, don't be so hard on yourself. You're doing just fine, you know.
Mhm.
I don't think we make mistakes, you know. They're just things that they're experiences. We do things and we learn from them, hopefully, you know. And if you don't
Mhm.
learn from it, it's gonna come back. So
Right.
eat healthy, and do your best. Try to eliminate sugar because sugar is what causes inflammation and diseases and all that. Lowers your immune system actually. Um, take herbs that you know, not everybody's into herbs, not everybody knows where to get them, but you know, I know there's a herb store by you in Bayonne. I don't
Mm.
know, I forgot the name of it. I think it's
John's.
John's, right?
Yeah.
There's another one in New York, which is called Flower Power. You can look for organic herbs online. I actually did elderberry syrup, which is
Mm.
for flu, and I've been taking that faithfully since all this has started. I actually
Mm.
made my own. Um, what else have I taken? You know, try not to try not to take this so serious. You know, it is serious, but
Mhm.
don't fear it because fear also lowers your immune system, you know.
Mm.
So you want to do things that you don't want to watch the news because you know you're gonna lose it. So
Right.
just have more faith, you know, in the process. Everything happens for a reason. There's always light at the end of the tunnel. We are all going to get through this. And I think this happened for a great cause. Even though it doesn't look great right now, I think at some point people are going to be like, wow, we went through all that and I came out very different. And I think
Mhm.
that's one of the purposes of all this. Like if you're if you're in it now and you're coming out of it the same, you might want to check that, you know,
Right.
because we have time to do what we really want to do.
Mhm.
And maybe the job that you were at um, is non-existent anymore and you may not be able to go back to it, so you have to try to create things
Mhm.
or you know do something that's gonna put you in the path of a different job or a different career or something. I know a lot of
Mhm.
people who are struggling with that. They're like, I don't know if I can go back to my job and I have to find something else to do. And you know that's where I came in and I try to help them. But
Mhm.
stay positive, you know, stay in the light as much as you
Yeah.
can.
Mhm.
um reach
Cool.
out to me if you guys ever need help, you know, in the guidance. And
Yeah.
yeah.
That's great. So from that, I took don't fear.
Hmm.
Fear is like you're right. It lowers the immune system and just makes things a
It
lot worse.
does.
Don't watch the news because the news is crap. Um, and go out, get some sun, get some light, eat
Hmm.
healthy. And you're right. Not to people have lost their lives because of this, and this is obviously it's
Absolutely.
a thing that we can't, but at when this is all said and done, yeah, you're right. I think we are going to look back and be like, wow, this was a real turning point on this planet. And and it was unfortunate that some people had to go through what they went through, families losing family members and friends. But I think in the long run, I think it's going to be something that's for the greater good. And I think that
Yes.
there's a lot of positive things going on that are going to happen.
Eh,
So I'm really excited about the future, and yeah, and I'm happy about that. Thank you so much, Damaris.
you're welcome.
You're uh, you're awesome. You have a tremendous message. I love your brand. I think that with development and getting your content out there, I think it's going to be wonderful. I think you're going to help a lot of people, which is really the whole purpose of this. And I think you're on your way, and I really appreciate taking the time with to talk to me, and to I'm looking forward to that book wherever that, because I'm sure there's a
I
book in the
need to
future.
write one. Yes, there
I'm
is.
sure there is. I'm sure
I wrote a
there is.
little bit so far.
Good, good. Yeah, no, you're great, and you're doing great work, and all I really appreciate you taking the time from being here. So thank you so much. Everybody listening, please, if you like this interview, if you like Damaris, all her information is going to be in the description below. Please subscribe and share and do all the stuff that everybody says at the end of these YouTube videos that I'm not really good at saying. But just I will see you next time. Damaris, don't hang up. I'm just going to get off of YouTube and then we'll just have a quick.
I have a little quote for you before you hang up.
Oh, go for it.
So, life is a song, and it's up to you and your heart to write the lyrics.
Ooh, I like that. All right. All right. Well, on that note, I'm not going to get any better than
Thank
that.
you.
Thank you so much. All right,
You're
everyone
welcome.
on YouTube, thank you so much. I will talk to all of you very, very soon. Have a great evening.